We are discussing about main method in Java. Main method is the entry point of any Java application or program. Without main method, you cannot start your application or program. So your program should have at least one main method. The syntax of the main method is this: public static void main. The access specifier of main method is public, and main method is a static method. Return type of main method is void, and the parameters that main method accept is of string array type. So these parameter we also call them as command line argument. So we'll be discussing about command line argument in a while. So there is a term called as starter class. So starter class is the class in Java application which contains the main method and which is capable of starting the program. As I have already told you that in order to start your application, you should have main method, and it is the entry point of your program. So the class which contains main method is known as starter class, and an application or a program can have more than one main method, and hence we can say that an application can have more than one starter class, but at a time you can only execute one main method. Now let's quickly jump onto the Eclipse and check what main method actually is. This is the class which we are already discussing. This is the dog class. In order to include main method, I'll type main and then press Ctrl spacebar. So it will give me the auto suggestion to include the main method. So I'll select this first one. So it has included the main method in this class. So right now I have included this main method in dog class. So we can say that dog class is the starter class. So when I run my program control will start from the main method, from the first line of the main method. I'll just write the logic inside detect bound, and let's call this method from the main method. So for that I'll create one reference variable of dog type. I'll call detect bound from this reference variable. What will happen if I'll run this program? As main method is the entry point, my control will go over here, then on the first line and then on the second line. So it will basically call this method and print this. So if I'll right click here, run as Java application, it should print dog detect bomb. This is printing dog detects bomb. So what happens if there is no main method? Let me comment it out. If I'll comment out the main method, then what happens? If I'll right click, so there is no option coming for running this particular program. That means you cannot run this class without main method. So this is what we were talking about, that main method is the entry point of any application or program. Let's go back onto the slides. Whatever is encircled is called as the signature of main method. Method signature in Java is the method name and the number, type and order of its parameters. So basically return type and static keyword and access specifier and throws clause, which we will learn in the exception handling in future. So all those things do not constitute the part of the method signature. Only the name of the method and the number of the arguments, type of the arguments and order of the argument constitutes the signature of any method in Java. Now let's see what happens if we try to change the syntax of main method. We will see one by one. So if we try to change the access specifier, what happens? Let me remove the comment from here. So right now the access specifier is public. What happens if I make it as private? So as soon as I make this as private, you can see one warning. This is warning symbol, yellow bulb kind of symbol. A warning comes, and if I hover over that warning, it says that main method from the type dog is never used locally. I have mentioned this, that if you try to make this as private, warning will come and your program will not execute. So how you check whether your program will be able to execute or not? So you just right click over here and check the run as option. So if your program is runnable, then run as Java application option should come, but here as no option is coming up, so you cannot run your program. Warning only comes in this case when you are trying to make the specifier as private, and rest in all other cases if you'll try to change the syntax of the main method, so actually no warning or error comes, but the ultimate thing that will happen with you is that you will not be able to run your program. So let's quickly check. If I'll make this as protected, no warning or errors coming. If I'm trying to run this program, you cannot run this program. No specifier, or we call as default specifier, then also you cannot able to run your program. Now let's remove the static keyword. Let's make the main method as non-static. When we will remove the static keyword, then again no error or warning is coming and you are not able to run your program. The next case is when we are specifying some other return type. So let's specify some other return type here. I am specifying int. So error is coming right now. So this error is showing that if you are mentioning your return type of main method as int, then you should return some integer value inside its body. So if we'll hover over to the error, it shows that add return statement. So if I'll click over here, it automatically adds a return statement. So this is the correct format for return type int. When I change the return type of int with correct format, then no error or warning is coming. And if I try to run this program, I cannot run it because there is no option of running as Java application is coming. Now let me revert it back to void. So instead of string, if I'll make this as something else, or let's say if I'm making it as int type, again no error will come, but ultimately you will not be able to run your program. And this is the name of the parameter. You can have anything over here. So if I'll change it to something else, let's say param or anything else, so you can run your program because it's just the name of the parameter which you are changing, not the actual syntax, just the name. So if I'll right click over here, run as, so you can see in this case you can run your program. So if I'll click over Java application, it will run your program. So the name of the parameter can be anything. So arrays we will be discussing separately in detail in future. So right now let me show you what are the valid syntax which we can form from this string array. So if I will put space over here, this is a valid syntax and I can run my application. You can see Java application. If I'll put this square bracket just before args, then also it's a valid syntax. I can run it as Java application. If I'll remove it from here, put it after args, then also I can run it. Or if I'll put a space between args and square brackets, then also I can run it. These are the valid syntaxes. You can specify your arrays with 3 dots also. So if I'll put 3 dots, this is also a valid syntax. I can run my Java program. Similarly, if I'll put a space, this is valid. If I'll put 3 dots just before the args, then also I can run my Java application. So these are valid syntax. But unlike square brackets, if I'll put these 3 dots after args, this is not valid. After watching this video, you can practice what all are the valid syntaxes which this main method can accept. These are the valid syntaxes which I have mentioned in my slides, so you can check these. So we have just seen what happens on changing the syntax of the main method. So this is a very frequent question which interviewers ask in the Java interview. I have told you that an application can have more than one main method. So right now let's say dog and police class are interacting. So as police class is forming the dog object inside one of its methods, so we can say that dog and police class are interacting with each other. So in this case, as main method is in dog class, dog.java class, so dog.java class is the starter class here. Only one starter class in our application. So our application contains 2 classes right now. So let's try to include one main method in police class also. So I just copied the main method from dog class and I am pasting it over here. In order to distinguish the difference, let me add one more print statement inside bark, and I am writing as dog barks. And from the main method of police class, I am calling bark method of dog class. So why this warning is coming? So you'll be able to understand in the next lecture when I'll tell you about the access of static and non-static stuff inside static and non-static methods respectively. So we have 2 main methods now. First one is dog's main method and second one is police main method. So at a time we can only run one main method. So if I'll go over to the dog.java class, if I'll right click over here and run as Java application, it will run the main method of dog class. So that is why it is printing dog detects bomb. Now let's say if I am going to the police.java class and I am right clicking over here and running this as Java application, then what happens? The second main method, the main method of police class will run and it will print dog barks. Let's run this. See, it is printing dog barks. So you can have n number of main methods in your Java class, and the class containing the main method is called as starter class, and at a time you can only run one main method. Next topic is command line arguments. So before actually discussing command line arguments, let me show you something. So there is a method called smell which accepts one parameter. Fine. So if you want to call this smell method, how do you call that? How will you call this method? So let's comment out this dog.detectBomb method. So in order to call this method, I'll write as dog.smell, and I'll pass some argument, a string argument, right? Let me pass as cat. So when I'll run this program, it will run successfully and it will print dog barks and run behind cat. As this method is accepting string parameter, can I call this method without passing any parameter? I mean to say, if I'll remove this cat string while calling, can I call it in my program? No, error will come. Correct? What error will come? That in the type dog, this is not applicable for the arguments. It means you have to give the arguments for sure. So in order to call any method, you have to properly give the arguments. Now let's see command line argument. So this smell method, who is calling? You are calling in your program. And who calls main method? It's JVM who calls the main method, because it is the entry point of your program. So while calling the main method, JVM has two ways. Either it calls main method without passing any arguments, but in actual, if we'll try to do this with other method in Java, we have already seen that we are getting error, but JVM has the liberty to do so. It can call main method without any argument. And the second way is a normal way, where it will call the main method with some string array. So these are the two ways. So generally, in most of the cases, we are making JVM to call the main method without the argument. But what happens when JVM calls the main method while passing the actual string array? How can we make it happen? How can we make sure that JVM, when it calls the main method, calls with the actual string array values? So these are done by the command line arguments. How do we do that? So here we directly write cat in order to pass cat as the value inside this. But while calling main method, if we want JVM to call main method with some string array, so for that we have to go to the run option, go to run configuration, click argument tab here, and now you can pass the string value. How you can pass the string values? So you can pass the string value like this, str1. So two string value in an array which you want to pass can be separated in two ways. str1, then if I'll put a space, then this is the second value, and if I'll put a space, this is the third value. So this is one way. Second way is by clicking enter. So if I'll click enter, it will be fourth value. So two ways you can pass the various string values. So values separated by space are different string values, or separated by enter. And if we give any value within double quotes, let's say AA, BB, CC, this is in double quotes. Although these values are separated by space, but as these are in double quotes, it will be considered as one string value. If we'll run this program, it contains actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 string values which will be passed as an array while JVM makes the call to the main method. So let's apply it and run it. So it is running the program. But what happens to the value which we have just passed? And nothing happened. So even in this case, when I call the smell method by passing cat, it is doing nothing with this cat value. So it's up to us. If we want to print the pass value, so we can put like this cat. So it will print the pass value, cat, this one, this value it is printing. If we want to print the command line arguments, what we have to do? Our array contained 5 values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is the string array. And the index of the array starts with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. So instead of using for loop, let me write the linear code. So for loop, I don't want to confuse with the for loop right now. I'll discuss separately in future. So let me print all the values. If I want to print the first value that is passed, so I'll give the index as 0. As I have passed 5 values, I'll give all one by one. So I can perform the same operation using for loop and using only one print statement, but let's write it one by one. So it will print all the arguments which I have given in the run configuration. So if I'll run this program, you can see it is printing all the 5 values: str1, str2, str3, str4, and the 5th value, as it was given in quotes, and although it was separated by space, it's only printing it as the separate value. It's a one string. Let's check one more thing. What happens when we are giving the value in double quotes and we are giving enter over here? Let's see what happens. So run. This is the complete 5th string. So do not consider these two separate strings, because 4th index I am only printing 5 values of the array. So this is first value, this is second value, this is third, this is fourth, and this collectively is the 5th value. Although space and enter is there, but it is considered as single string because it is within the double quotes. So this is the concept of command line argument in Java. Now let's just go to the slide and quickly walk through the points. So JVM calls the main method with or without arguments, that we have already seen. So if we define command line arguments, then it means that JVM is calling main method with arguments that can be used anywhere in the program. It's up to us whether we want to use those command line argument or not. Third point is we can call the main method of one class from other class, and we have to pass some value, a string array, while calling, otherwise error will come. Yeah, so third point is important. So you can call the main method of any other class. So we have two main methods here. So let's say from dog I want to call the main method of police class. Police equal to new police dot main method I am calling, and I have to pass the string array. So let me define a string array like this string, and values we can define an array with curly braces and the values in double quotes, A, B, S, comma, anything you can pass here. This is an array with 2 values and the name of that array is str. So I'll pass str over here. What will happen in this case? My control will come over here when I'll run the main program. Then over here it will call the main method of the police class, and it will print this method, bark, dog barks. So if I'll run here, run as, so it is printing dog barks, and nothing is happening with this value because it depends on us what we want to do with this command line argument or the values which we are passing. So here when it is coming to main method, those values which we have just passed in the array will be stored in this, but as we are not using args anywhere in the main method, so nothing is happening.